Hello and welcome. This video is to talk about the upgrades that I did to my Alienware Area51 computer, which is 6 years old. I bought it in 2014 directly from Dell. So it's an Area51 R2 model. And I paid about 2,000 euros at the time for this model. It did not include an SSD because at the time Dell were asking way too much extra money for an SSD, so I bought an SSD myself, which I then installed right away. Before I talk about the change that I did, maybe it's just easier to say what I didn't change. So the motherboard, the CPU and the CPU cooler are the original ones. So those are the only items that I didn't upgrade, let's say. All right, let's talk about the changes. The power supply. So I removed the original Dell power supply and I replaced it with a Corsair RM1000x modular power supply. And it's actually, let me change the color a bit to make it more visible. So the RM1000x, it was easily replaceable. You can just pull out the Dell one and insert this one. It's modular, which means that you only need to use the cables that you really need, which makes it easier for cable management, as you can see there. Next, the case fans. I did remove all original case fans. There was one on the CPU and there was one top fan and one which is called the PCI fan here. So I did remove the original ones. They were starting to make some noise after 5 to 6 years, and I replaced them with 5 Corsair RGB fans. 2 of them are LL120 RGB ones and 3 are a little bit different, but they are also RGB. Those fans are actually controlled by a Corsair Comannder Pro, which is connected to the back side of the computer. In order to not have the motherboard fan error, I did connect the power fans, the power connectors, directly to the correct, to the same connectors on the motherboard. So, which means that the 2 fans that I did install on the radiator for the CPU cooler are actually connected together using a Y cable, and they are connected to the top pin. So this is considered to be the top fan. Excuse me. Those 2 fans here are also connected with the Y cable to the same connector on the motherboard, so they act as one. And then the PCI fan there is it's a single fan basically. So the RGB headers are connected to the Comannder Pro so that I can use iCue to change the lights. Okay. Next is the RGB LED strip, what you can see at the bottom here. So it's actually 2 LED strips. They start about here and go all the way down and then all the way up again. This is also a Corsair LED strip, but only the extension pack. You don't need to buy the start pack because you can actually connect those directly to the Comannder Pro on the back side. So I bought the Comannder Pro separately. And I connect these 2 LED strips together so that I can control all the lights together, let's say. All right, the memory. I had 16 gigs of RAM originally from Dell. I removed those and bought some Corsair Vengeance. It's 32 gigs for 4x8 gig, and I think it's 3,300 or something. But unfortunately, the motherboard, the Alienware motherboard, which is actually an MSI motherboard, is limited, and the BIOS is actually blocked. It means that the RAM memory only runs at 2,100 something instead of the full capacity, but that's a limitation due to the motherboard. I am planning to swap or replace the motherboard, the CPU, and the CPU cooler in the near future. Next, oh yeah, I bought an NZXT USB splitter, which you can see about there. This is because I needed extra USB headers, and unfortunately the motherboard only contains one, which is used, I believe, for the front I/O panel. So I had to buy this. This was actually quite cheap. This NZXT USB splitter. It's connected to the header on the motherboard, and then I have about how many connections? I have 1, 2, 3 additional. I have 3 connections available plus 2 internal USB. Not sure if you can see this on the top here. So 1, 2 USBs and then 3 other USB headers. Otherwise I could not connect and control the Comannder Pro. Yeah, so the hard disk, I have the original hard drive, which was just a SATA drive, which I keep on the backside as a data drive, and then I installed a 1 terabyte Samsung Evo SSD. It's just the normal Evo model, not the Pro or anything. So I did install that one instead. Again, this was because Alienware charged way too much money for the SSD upgrade at the time when I bought this PC. That's about it, I think. So otherwise I use a Corsair K65 keyboard, a Corsair RGB mouse mat, and a Corsair M65 Elite mouse. And I use dual screens, which are a 34 ultra-wide Alienware at 120 Hz, and then I have a second screen which is also an Alienware 24-inch 240 Hz. And of course, last but not least, the graphics card. I almost forgot that one. So the GPU is actually a Aorus GeForce RTX 3080 Extreme, so it's a Aorus Extreme. It's a very nice but very heavy GPU. I was lucky, I must say, to get this one because they are sold out everywhere, and also the prices have since almost doubled, even on the normal retailers. So not talking about scalpers, because those prices are just ridiculous and nobody should ever buy a GPU at double or triple the price. But even on regular stores here in Belgium and abroad, the prices have almost doubled of these cards. So and actually I did wait a long time, as many of you I believe. My previous card was a GTX980, so I waited about 3 years or even longer, I think, to upgrade because the prices of the 1000 series skyrocketed with the Bitcoin miners and that bubble. Then the RTX 2000 series was not really that impressive, so I didn't buy a new video card at that time, but now it was really looking good, especially coming from my GTX980, but unfortunately with the demand being way higher than the availability, the prices are what they are, and also the availability is just, there are just so little of these cards available. So I can say that I was lucky to buy this one. It runs nice. I don't run it in silent mode, I just keep it with the fans enabled. As you can see there's a little display. You can select what you want to see there. I usually keep it on FPS, on total power, and on the GPU temperature. I have the case open now, so normally when I have my case closed it runs at about 41 degrees idle, and when I run benchmarks on it, it rises until about 71 degrees Celsius, which is okay for such a heavy GPU, I would say. All right. What else can I show you? I can show you that the lights are still working. So I had some question on my other video about the Alienware lights, which to be honest I don't care too much about, but I can show you here that the Alienware command center is still working, and that my lights are still working, and this is mainly because I have the same motherboard that I use. So if I change the motherboard to another one, then I will have some issues with getting the Alienware Commander installed, but there is a workaround. Well, you can do a BIOS update or temporary BIOS update so that it thinks that you are running an Alienware motherboard. So as you can see here, the Alienware lights on the side and on the front are still working. I can also change them, of course. Last thing to talk about is the side panel. So having all those lights is kind of nice, but not if you enclose your tower, of course. So what I did do is I actually changed the side panel. I'm not sure if you see this. So this is now my side panel. I did cut out along the edges, and I installed a plexi, a part of plexi to well, to make it transparent, of course. I will try to show you. So this is actually the back side. I just glued it in, so this is the back side. I did cut it along the edges, and I kept this metal brackets, because without that bracket you cannot close the side panel. So it's important when you cut it that you don't cut it too much. So the rest of the metal side panel has been removed. You also need to keep the top here with the lock. And finally, I did also print some decals in the Alienware font that you can find online. So I did add there the Alienware name and logo, and then this is actually Area 51, so the model in the Alien language. I'm going to show you how it looks like on the computer. This is how it looks like with the, it's kind of cool. And then of course I can control, since all the RGB lights are Corsair, it's all controllable through the same software, which is the Corsair iCue software. So I can just show you some examples of how to easily change the lights. And of course the keyboard and the keyboard and the mouse pad also change the lights accordingly. So let me show you. These are just the Corsair effects like the rainbow wave and so on and so forth. This is pretty cool, a matrix-like effect. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to answer them as much as I can. So as said, the next upgrade will be the motherboard, CPU and CPU cooler. I'm aiming for a i9 10900K or something similar with a Z590 motherboard, I believe. I will have to replace my cooler, but I'm not sure if a single 120mm radiator will be enough to cool the 10900K, so I'm still looking into that. Another issue will be to try to make the front panel work, the power button, and also the lights, the Alien FX lights, because I know that some people have done this, and you need some extension cables for that. So I'm sure that it can be done, so I'm looking forward to that one, and I will post another video in a few months to show if when I have done these upgrades. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a nice one. See you later. Bye.